catch it early. Help us teach kids about cancer symptoms through Ultimate Frisbee clinics. Join us and speak up.
Welcome to the World Flying Disc Federation's free streaming coverage of the 2016 World Ultimate Championships from London. Brought to you by WUGC Ultimate, proud to be the official merchandising partner of the World Flying Disc Federation. And by Eric, teaching youth about cancer symptoms through Ultimate Frisbee clinics. And by the members of the USA Ultimate and World Flying Disc Federation. You're listening to Tom Styles and Brian Jones under the sunshine in London from the University College London Sports Ground. And Brian, we've got Sweden and Switzerland, two powerhouse European teams to watch here in this men's division. Tell us about the teams we've got down here.
Sweden, they've come out after the last Worlds where they made it to the semifinals with a surprise win over Japan. And they've been a team that may have been considered as peaking in that time period in 2012. Here they're looking to kind of get back to their former glory. They have the athletes. They're very tall. They're able to throw it deep. And on the other side, we look at Switzerland. They're usually made up of a lot of players who like to play loose and carefree, like to shoot it deep, like to make the big plays. They're looking to take down Sweden and become one of the European powerhouses.
Yeah, both these teams at their absolute peak maybe 5 years ago. And this is a new generation of players for Sweden, a new generation of players for Switzerland. Some of the big names that we've seen at world contests for both these teams have moved on and been replaced by younger legs. We've also got some complicated accents and names to try and cover. So myself and Brian will do our very best. I've been chatting to Ben Petrikangas down on the sound line there, trying to help me with some of the Swedish pronunciations. The ball goes up.
No doubt you'll have a better time coming from the British Isles compared to me coming from the lowly United States.
Well, we'll see about that. 25, Hurld managing to find Högre. Across to Högberg. And a turnover pressure from the Swiss. Diving long, Fabio Giacomet.
Giacomet makes a great defensive play coming across on the handler. A very difficult position to get the block. Normally you're trying to play contained defense. You're able to put a lot of pressure, and that spells trouble early on for the Swedes.
Team in red. Switzerland looking for this early break, having got the disc from the Swedish offense. Quick couple of passes. And going to ground, Dahlberg from the Swedish team, forcing him over.
A lot of contact on the mark early.
Making progress down that sideline, Riss. And back to Glor. And into the end zone, Marco Pfister scores for Switzerland, and they celebrate with some enthusiasm that early break for the Swiss.
The Swiss had opportunity to change the field, but the Swedish marks made them go up the sideline, jamming it home after some successive passes. It looked pretty at the end. A little bit of grit to get through the physicality. And the Swiss go up 1-0, breaking the start. Take a look here at the replay. After the up-line pass, and this is where you're in the most dangerous position. They call it the power position for a reason, just a quick flip. Defense is out of position slightly. Thrower is unmarked for a period of time.
Yeah, Marco Pfister made a great cut there, got himself some separation from his mark. Scores with some ease. University College London,
15 seconds.
Down here on the north side of the capital city in the UK. Saw an absolutely torrential downpour yesterday morning. The pitch has survived that pretty well. We had 3 hours of pretty solid rain yesterday. The Swedes with the disc again. Jenhur flips it out.
A split stack downfield, trying to open up the middle of the field, and wide open, no coverage. A little bit of a defensive miscommunication.
Yeah, Auckling with no mark at all there. Now it's Dahlberg. Dahlberg, Scuba. Red well in the wind, Jencher. Swedes moving down the line. Orkelin.
Not a lot of timing off the continuation so far from the passes, as there's going to be a foul called. And so you're seeing a lot of dink and dunks. The Swedes are able to eat up chunks of yardage at a time, but then it's looking around for a few seconds, trying to find the next open option. The Swiss are doing a good job of not allowing any big continuations, forcing them into short passes early on.
Conversation down on the pitch. You can see the Swedish sideline in front of us, Brian. They're giants, all of them. Doesn't seem to be a single short player on this Swedish team. And some really tall players in there as well. Is that going to have a big impact on this game?
Yeah, anytime I feel short on the field and I'm 6'2", or convert that to meter some other time, or it's going to take a calculator for me. But they're well over what I usually have to defend against, and so anytime that happens and I feel small, you can tell that it's going to be trouble for the opposing team, and that's why the Swiss are just doing a good job of allowing don't want to get beat with a hot.
Hungry. On the line, looking for a shot down the line. Great pressure from the Swiss. It's a Scuba, it's going to be Deed. Pressure from Switzerland. Sebastian Glor running through, getting a block. Call on the play, contact. Dahlberg insisting from the ground there that there's a play. Discussing that with Sebastian Glor.
I think this is one of the most common calls in Ultimate, where the offensive player lays a hand on it as we look at the replay. Split second there, hard to tell. You have to be sure as an offensive player to call this, that it's a strip. I don't think he had rotation stopped. It's a tough call.
I don't think
Looks like they're going to go to the perspective here of the game advisors.
I know I was first.
And maybe there might have been some other extracurricular activity going around the area with some physical contact, but I don't believe that's the call, so maybe listen in.
My view, and my colleague's view, it looked like you didn't have control of this. And
Okay.
Yeah. With you? Yeah. Thanks.
So, no call. Yeah? No call. No call.
So we've got Dan Godbold is our game advisor with the microphone on, just confirming that there's no call there. Call retracted.
And that's great. That's what the game advisors are here for, to offer an alternate perspective. And I believe the right call was made. It's still a close one, still tough.
Big shot there from the Swiss. Early chasing it down. He's going to get into the end zone. Reads it perfectly. What a disc. Oh, and is it being called back? Is it being called back? I think the Swiss are celebrating, but back there on the line. No, I think the call may have been retracted. Oh, and there's a conversation going on between the 93 shirt of Anders Magnusson, who was the mark there. Deep shot disc. The wind is swirling around this pitch one, coming over the trees.
I think what's being talked about here is where was the disc after the turnover. There's a lot of discussion. Take a look here at the replay. Disc is being picked up. We'll see here if there's a travel.
So he hasn't tapped it in, he hasn't called it in. That's what he's complaining about. It's not a travel, he's just... he was going to tap it in and didn't get that chance.
That means the game is on. You cannot set up a hot until it's not checked in. You didn't stop playing, actually.
I really want to see these sort of calls and this tension between these two teams resolved pretty quickly, because
it was before, it wasn't at the throw.
The call is a goal from the Swedes. Anders Magnusson clearly unhappy with how quickly that was scored.
And maybe we can get a little bit of an explanation there, what was happening from our game advisor on the field, Dan Godbold.
Dan, what was your perspective?
Yeah, so from my understanding from what that was, I'm at the far end, so it's kind of hard to tell, but I believe there was a violation for on Sweden setting up too fast for, sorry, no, the other way around, Switzerland setting up too fast for Sweden, and I think that was the call, but it was withdrawn as they set up in the right way. They just want to play the game, and they've got on with it and given the score.
Cool. Okay, so that's Dan's perspective. We've got our game advisors mic'd up just to give you a bit of a view on what they're saying down there. if you've never seen Game Advisors before, Brian, can you just walk us through the key differences between the observer system that the USA viewers might be used to and the Game Advisor system?
Well, the pretty simple one here is that USA observers, when they rule, it's binding. You have to accept their ruling. Here, the Game Advisors can give their perspective, which is new for Game Advisors here in a Worlds tournament, and it's non-binding, but they're there to give their perspective, which I think is fantastic because they have a great perspective of what's going on in the field, and the players can leave it or use it. And we saw that in the last game. Stall was called in the Canada-Czech Republic game. Canadian Joe Belvance decided to stick with his own call, saying, no, I really thought it was a stall. Didn't matter there. Czech Republic still pulled it out.
Yes, Swedes moving it now, flowing down the line, but a miscommunication between the two Swedish players just on the edge of the end zone. The 22 shirt jabs it in there. Eventually, Patrick Sundqvist managing to find a space down the line. It was good flow, though, from the Swedes, a little bit more comfortable on their offense, not taking any deep options, just moving it sweetly around. And Sundqvist going to ground to keep that one alive, just shy of the end zone.
We've already seen a lot of physicality in this game and a lot of chippiness, and so for the Swedes, they're using their athleticism, they're using their speed, and they're going up one side of the field. I've seen both defenses here try to maybe almost use a little bit of intimidation. They talk about the Americans being physical. These two teams clearly have played each other before and clearly know what to expect. There's a lot of contact early on.
So it was Bjorn Nordin collecting the disc there. I was chatting to Pedro Schmid from the Swiss team earlier, and he was just reflecting on the history of these two sides. At Worlds level, no Swiss team has ever beaten a Swedish team. That's happened once at club level, I think, at Paganello on the beach, the Stinks beating the Swedish team in Paganello. But that's the level of this Ultimate. The Swiss team have never beaten a Swedish team at world level. So there's a lot on the line here for this Swiss team who've come through their pool very strongly. And the Swedes, big shot going up straight away. It's going to beautifully balanced in the wind, but there's going to be pressure underneath this from the Swedes, bidding hard. Oh, what a take that is from the 37 shirt of Robin Brudelin. Read it well, got up high, took it above the defender.
Brudelin able to bring that down despite the defender being right on his back. Great play in traffic. We talked about earlier the perpetual underdogs, the Swiss. And that's what's great about this tournament, the chance for upsets. We just saw a huge one. Maybe we're ready for upset Tuesday here at the World Ultimate Championships. We'll take a look at the replay. Just great positioning. There's nothing you can do. As a defender, you're not, unless you can jump over him and get the block without hanging all over. This one's going to be a goal.
Yeah, he just slowed his run just enough to keep the defender at bay. Rises majestically, takes it high, and brings it down for a confident Swiss score. Yeah, the sunshine is out and it's a lot warmer and nicer and more pleasant place to be down here at University College London for the World Ultimate Guts Championship. To listen to Tom Stiles and Brian Jones in this men's power pool match between Sweden and the Swiss team. Sweden playing in white, and the Swiss in red. And miscommunication upfield. That's a turnover, Jonathan Hergeren.
Trying to hit the throw out wide. There wasn't an angle on that. It was forcing the cutter to make adjustments and not on the same page.
Oh, giving the disc right back.
We've seen a lot of that in this tournament, and it was understandable in the rain yesterday, pouring down, but here, drops and unforced errors by teams.
Yeah, the disc was low, but there was no real pressure on it for Reese as he came and collected that big shot. No, straight away into Akers. A space that a pick's been called. It won't count. It won't count. Pick being called further downfield.
Pick called.
You wondered why it was so wide open, and then crystal clear comes in. There's a pick call.
And you actually start seeing the players, instead of, they'll vocalize it. Oh, hang on, it's been withdrawn, and a goal. Well, that's well-spirited. I'm quite sure if we can see on the replay quite how he got that free and what the pick was that was called.
Great pass here. No hesitation. Gets it, turns, Shot goes up, and it's perfect. Right out to space. Nothing better than seeing ultimate like this. Underneath pass, quick fake, and then no hesitation. And I mean none. That's just, yep, got him open, gonna send it deep. It's going to be a goal. Great confidence.
He knew what the shot was before the disc even arrived with him, didn't he? That's great flow and communication and chemistry between the Swedish men. So, Swedes within one. Swiss with a slight advantage here. 3-2 is the score. Switzerland in the lead. So, Switzerland centering the disc. Migoletto.
A zone from the Swedes. Here with 4 men around the disc. And they're not letting the Swiss get free backfield shots. And you see this is different. It's almost a diamond configuration.
This is an unusual zone. Have you seen this before, Brian?
There are teams that will use this, and especially even at the college level. I actually saw this from UMass this season. It just doesn't make the easy resets happen. So you're forced to go downfield. And if you want to be patient, it's very difficult.
But the Swiss breaking through there now. A couple of quick passes and they're on the move.
I don't like that last play, even though it's going to work here as the Swiss are going to move it down. I don't like turning around back into the teeth of the defense. You just got it through. Don't turn around and look back at the handler right away. Try to keep it in the middle of the field. Try to keep it moving down and go through a jailbreak.
22 is David Moser on this sideline. The Swiss taking their time to get this one going again. Oh, Swedes waiting to tap that in, going down the line. Great early cut, it's going to be rising high. The disc waited in the air a little bit longer than he would have liked, but the 28 shirt of Luca Migoletto, one of the 2 Migoletto family for the Swiss team, bringing that one down. And let's just have a look again at that, what you were talking about there, Brian. The Swiss, when they're breaking through this zone, well, there's a replay of the previous goal for the Swedes. You see that nice flow. And they're catching. I might get to that replay in a second, but Swiss looking comfortable at the moment. That zone was a new one on me, seeing the one taking out the dump and a diamond formation, so both swings either way marked out, but quite tight, so there wasn't so many holes between the cup.
There's a lot more space to cover. Usually you leave the behind open because you can only cover so much downfield, and that way you can stop them from having any throws go through the middle if you're the Swedes. But in this case, you want to put pressure and force risky throws. That's what you get.
So defensive switching upfield allowed the Swede to have a lot of space there, but they're moving it sweetly. Team in red running to catch up. And now a reset to the center of the pitch.
The Swiss got off to a good start. The Swedes seem to be getting more comfortable as the game goes on.
Dahlberg. Centers, swings into the end zone. Bid from the Swiss, but it's just collected outside of the end zone. Swedes knocking on the door here. Looking for the under, looking for the around, looking for the reset. There it is. Across the pitch, stretches, tries to milk it in, doesn't quite manage it. Several passes here within 10 yards of the end zone, but the Swedes not able to penetrate through this Swiss defense at the moment. Pressure on every cut, pressure on every pass, pressure on every catch. The Swiss really working hard to try and stem the flow of Swedish discs. Oh, what a grab that is! Outstretched left hand, had his eyes on it. He took off 10 feet before the disc was caught. Manages to grab it left-handed. Oh, we're seeing some performance here from the Swedes. Amazing grab there. That brings them back within 1.
Unlike the cheese, there was no holes through the middle of that defense to get it through. And so the Swedes had to go around and around. They did, because holy cow, we've seen some exciting plays. That's incredible. That's an amazing grab, and that's what is so exciting to watch here. The athletes here at Worlds coming up with a grab over the shoulder.
That's a hero-making disc, isn't it? Just beyond him, just a little bit too far, but
it's trailing away, and he has to catch up to it. And I'm not sure I can even bend my shoulder that way. I'm not in playing shape, but I would hope that maybe someday, but probably not.
I love the fact that we got our first Swiss cheese joke in within the first 3 points, or first 7 points of the match. Tom Stiles and Brian Jones covering this one as part of the World Flying Disc Federation video stream for you from the University College London Sports Ground here at the World Ultimate Guts Championships. This power pool match between Switzerland and Sweden. A tight affair, tense affair in the first couple of points. Again, we see the diamond here.
Very loose. You see how the diamond, right, is covering a lot of different spaces, and they're adjusting. You see them communicating, trying to find where the offense is and making sure they're guarding all those spaces. And here, great position.
Big raking hammer right across the pitch, pressure on it, and too much to ask of the receiver. Aaron Riddell not able to collect that one on the far side of the pitch. If that's their only option, that zone from Sweden's been very effective. Big shot goes up, pressure under this, work, great boxing out. Oh, he did all the work. He got to there early. Love managing to keep the Swiss defender at bay, doing all the hard work, and the man with the beard claps his hands in frustration, bangs his head. Oh.
Yeah, but what about that killer beard? I mean, he's coming through. He's bringing a strong beard game. Now he's got to bring a strong catching game, and he's got it all set. I love the strategy here by the Swedes. It's throw a zone, get him to the sideline, and it makes me look good because they get him trapped and they throw that hammer, and that's exactly what the Swedes want to force. If you're the taller team, they can throw it in the air. You're going to make plays, and immediately after that, no offense. Pick it up, jack it deep, and see what happens.
Let's see if the Swiss can counter that with anything of their own. Team in red trapped on the sideline now, managed to get a reset out, and pointing across the pitch and then sending it back down the line. Cheeky little communication from the Swiss, obviously well understood. The 77 shirt, David Moser, resetting and bossing in the middle of this Swedish Cup.
I like that the Swiss are kind of alternating players here through the middle. You need to have multiple players ready to attack different spaces, but here, dump it backwards and get the angle and swing it all the way to the sideline. Right here. And see this move? They don't move it laterally. That's the issue right now. But as soon as I say that, they're able to bust through the middle, so what do I know?
Well, they were held at bay for quite a period of time. Moser, 28 into the end zone. Scuba, there it is, brought down safely in the end zone by 33 shirt of Aaron Riddell. And making up for that drop earlier on in the point.
One of the more exciting throws to watch in the game, and sometimes it doesn't work out, but this one does. The no-look scuba to the end zone. I thought he was going to throw it earlier with a simple flick to break the mark, but the Swedes have the long, tall marks, and here sometimes the best throw, once you get it through, is just the no-look scuba. Here, the fake for the flick, and then boom, look away, get good leverage on it. Actually, it's one of the throws that I like to teach the first day of coaching any college team.
The no-look scuba.
Not the no-look scuba, but the scuba. We'll leave the no-look portion of it till later in the semester, but it's one of those things as if you're coaching a college team, we've all been a part of the rookie that can't see the hammer and can't read it correctly. And the disc flies differently as an upside-down pass, so I teach my players early how to use it. I put them in mini games for just 10 minutes each practice. Learn how to read these throws, learn how to use them. You never know, because it's a defensive breakdown. When a guy's wide open in the end zone, you need to find a creative way to get him the disc, and if you do, it's a goal.
28 shirt, Luca Migoletto with that great pass into the end zone, the scuba. Well collected by his Swiss counterpart, Aaron Riddell. After the pressure that the Swedish team have brought with their zone the last couple of points, it feels like they've had a bit of the advantage, but the scoreboard has very much got the Swiss with the momentum. Swedes looking to move it.
Swiss very active on the mark, clogging up the lanes. They have deep help, so they're trying to slow down.
There's a call on the play.
The Swedish offense is having trouble getting going. And kudos to the Swiss. They have a great defensive game plan in the early moments.
Paused on the line. Call Perhaps some contact between the two defenders as they approach. And it's coming back in. Walkerling. Resets. Högberg. Back to Huld.
We take a look here on the screen. You can tell we have a wide angle on the screen, but the cutters are completely out of the picture. They're all hanging out deep because for the Swedes, this is part of their game, is they like to throw it deep, and the Swiss have stopped their unders and forced them to hang out in spots which are not conducive to getting wide open unders.
Dahlberg chasing this one, reaches high, grabs just on the edge of the end zone now for the Swedes. Looks for the reset to Högberg. Högberg's going to come into the line and he fetches it. Great communication, made a bit of eye contact, and the Swiss have had a pick call there. That looping run from Högberg as he ran into the end zone, the #1 shirt. Trying to do the same thing again, and this time looking for the reset. There's a space on the far side of the pitch. Oh, beautifully found. Simon Orkling making himself available. The hammer to the front of the end zone, picked out. And the Swedes move back within one. These teams are trading at the moment.
This is why it's so tough for Team Switzerland to come up with a victory over Team Sweden. Even when great defense is played, it still can favor the offense if they find the right option. Sweden is tall, they're physical, they know how to box out and read the disc. And at the end, when it gets to a high stall count, you can rely on throws to the opposite side of the field to find the space, and that's exactly what Sweden was able to do. Find the hammer, put it to the end zone, no problem there. And that type of stuff you expect to work some of the time, but if you're the Swiss, you have to be confident in your game plan to keep forcing that throw. That's the option B. Option A for Sweden is huck it from the start and try to put it to an undercut and then immediately throw deep. So the Swiss are doing a good job of forcing Sweden into option B. Need to stick with it, need to have the confidence, and so far it's been working out as they're up 5-4.
Sweden, a nation with rich heritage at World Ultimate level, former world champions many years ago.
Only one of the few teams that can actually say that.
Absolutely. Shot right across the pitch, slips a little bit as he receives it. Big shot going across. Space in the end zone. He's managed to get great separation. Oh, well read and well received from Basil Fura. The 33 shirt of Aaron Riddell again making himself a real menace to this Swedish defense. Raking backhand right across into the center of the park.
86, Norden for Sweden doesn't think this one is coming. Got good position, he's in the space. He's gonna look at it and say, all right, I've got the position here, but the throw comes up to the break side, no place for the defender to make a play on it. And speedy delivery too. The fake and then the rip. The whole body motion comes through. Perfect throw to the back corner of the end zone. What a throw.
It's not easy to get enough power on that disc, is it? With the backhand, with the outside edge up, to get it coming down that fast and still make the number of yards he made there. It was a real powerful arm.
It's easy to rip that one out of bounds. It's easy to throw that one too short. It's a hard nut to crack to get it just right perfect in the middle.
So Swiss showing us why they came through their pool play so strongly. Chatting with some of the journalists working for the show game team earlier, they were saying that they'd looked at the Swiss pool and thought that would be a real close one, and we're going to write a story about it, and then found the Swiss made very light work of their games. Högberg now for Sweden. Brings it back to Dahlberg.
Switching of the force by the Swiss, looking like a force middle, trying to keep everything coming from different angles, and that's what your goal is by switching the mark.
Dahlberg and Hagebel. Shot into the end zone. Oh, well collected by Jonathan Högren.
A missed switch there by the Swiss blows everything up. The force middle defense relies on marks to be smart, players to be able to switch and takes matchups, because if you don't leave a mark on, all of a sudden your defense is out of position. The defense is constantly going to be switching in the force middle. As a result of hearing the new force come in, they're going to go ahead and change sides. And here, after a little flip, there needs to be a switch right there. And instead, 69 shirt doesn't come through and makes this an easy goal.
Yeah, so Florian Kaiser making the call and switching onto the nearest defender, but the person who was the other defender from Switzerland didn't go across and cover that line. So you'd expect them to continue that run and go and cover and force back into the center of the park.
Exactly. You need to continue that line because you have the best position to make the play. And that flip, it's actually better to always switch that. There's almost never a time where it's better to just stay with your matchup. And that's something that needs to be practiced and kind of vital in that situation. The Swiss they didn't want to make it easy for Sweden. And that's making it easy. That's a blown possession, and that's something where they would have been better off playing a standard defensive set.
Well, these two teams making steady progress through this game at the moment. Neither of them able to get a significant break. Great pull there, right in the back of the end zone. And the Swiss spreading the offense down the pitch, but they're going to be forced to come underneath on the tall Swedish line. Pressure in their own end zone at the moment, having to move it around. Managing to find a discount to the side, rises a little, but well collected. And another slip from the number 4 shirt for Sweden, Lee Anderson. Just trying to come and collect this, but again, the Swiss being pushed back into their own end zone.
Handlers here are trying to clear out of the way. Swiss doing a good job switching, kind of forcing to the middle flat marks, and they're poaching the underneath lane.
Big shot. Great arm, he's going to be chasing down this. Riedel again, jumps it in, and he scores it. Milked it all the way down the pitch. No complaints from the Swedes. Aaron Riedel, the 33 shirt, and enormous arm from the Swiss. They only needed to be on their edge of their own end zone line, and 64 meters of backhand finds the receiver.
I'm not even sure if he was actually in here on the little hop into the end zone. We take a look, a great throw. It's going to come up in this one, puts on a shelf, and it just keeps going and allows the receiver to just read it in.
Yeah. Can we have a slow-mo on that one?
We'll take a look here once again. Beautiful throw.
Tobias van Barsen. Oh,
maybe. We'll give it to him. And the Swedes did as well.
We have to go frame by frame to really settle that one, I think, but we'll give it to him. Yeah, Tobias van Barsen with the huge backhand, number 6 shirt for the Swiss. And completely unafraid to take that shot. As soon as he had the disc, he knew there'd be a receiver going deep. And Aaron Riedel. Disc flights high, front to the end zone.
So many defenders back here on the outside shoulder and deep for the Swiss, letting the underneaths go.
Sideline, halfway up the pitch. Swedes looking to reset back to the 25 shirt of Hug. Cross from Hugbury.
And that's the hard part there. You saw a large gainer being given up after the defense was pretty much conceding the underneaths.
Hugable. Big shot into the end zone, collected by the outstretched Hurglerin.
Second time he's made an incredible catch. The Swiss try not to give up the huck. They let the Swedes they concede the yardage all the way up to half field. And from there, they should have been in good position. And a timeout called, looks like by the Swedes. They're going to try to regather here as we take a look. And that's too easy. Well, I say that's too easy because the Swedes are just known to make those plays. There's at some point with the depth of the cutter, it's hard to know what's happening, but with Sweden, you always have to be aware that the shot could be going up.
Another fantastic grab, though, from Sweden. Martin Hurgable with the disc and collected in the end zone by 7, Jonathan Hurglerin. I mean, had some help with my Swedish pronunciation because the letters on the backs of the shirts, so it doesn't follow the usual sort of Latin pronunciation of any of these names.
No, I got the chance to talk with some Swedes yesterday and asked them how they pronounced, Swedish in their native languge, and it sounded beautiful, almost like an Italian word that the only thing to compare for. And I said, don't you hate now that we call you Sweden? We like it. Okay.
Almost universally speaking excellent English as well.
But great game so far. The Swiss have been doing a decent job here with the game plan. I think I like the way they came out strategically, but they didn't execute very well on it. There is a fundamental aspect of defense by just knowing how deep the cutters are and where your positioning should be. So even if you're saying don't give up the deep shot, play on the backside. If they go too deep, you have to guard the under, because then you give up a 30-yard under or 30-meter under. We can get close there. And you don't want to be giving up that big of a yardage gain. You want to go ahead and secure the disc deep, make sure that's not going to go up. But at the same time, it's just too big chunks. Sweden's going to be able to eat those up, and they're going to be able to get the shot they want anyway.
Yeah, we've seen the Sweden adapting to this Swiss defense.
On the other field, a close game. Not sure who's up, but it's 3-2 right now. A big crowd in Great Britain versus Colombia. Got Evan and David Price, Evan Lepler and David Price doing that game. Here we're 7-6. Swiss leading over the Swedes, but very much anybody's game at this point.
Yeah, the business end of the week has started here on Power Pools on Tuesday morning. On the University College London fields in spectacular appearance and witnessing some great ultimate. All the teams battling. There's no weak links at this stage of the tournament. Everyone's got a chance in it. Sweden and Swiss playing out here.
4 handlers back for the Swiss, matching up downfield, very isolated. Not a lot of space in the backfield, but tons of space downfield for cutters to use.
Shot from the number 6 shirt of Barson, and it just runs out of space and goes to ground before Moser could get there. So turnover to the Swedes. This could be an opportunity for the Swedes to level it up here and take us to Galaxy Point.
Galaxy Point, I've never heard of that one.
Well, this is a Mike Palmer invention. It's if it's if it's level at 7 apiece going into a half at 8, we're calling this Galaxy Point. And he even started trying to start a hashtag about it as well. I don't know if it'll stick, but I'm going to give it a chance. Swedes with the disc on their end zone line. Pressure from the Swiss. Running around and forcing it back into their end zone. Got to reset. He's going to have to use it down this right side here. Bjorn Nordin. And now making a great back undercut. Exactly what Brian was talking about there. Hergeren giving up the yards by marking the deep cuts. Give Nordin a big gainer there, coming under and collecting the disc.
When the Swedes are at their best, they're making their cuts starting about 10 to 15 yards away from the disc, because then it's so hard. They have such a great opportunity to throw deep, to go deep, because then the throw doesn't have to be perfect. The throw can go out in front, and they can use their size to box out and run it down. Earlier in possessions, the Swiss were getting the Swedes to be too deep in their cuts and doing a good job of that. It's so hard as a defender to defend these type of cuts.
Flowing down this this near side here with Sundqvist. A big bid from the outstretched Moser into the end zone for Sweden. Foot down, foot in. Difficult call, but I think there was a call before that. The defenders from in the red shirts, Switzerland, had stopped their cuts.
Take a look here on the replay. Great bid, and after that play had stopped, so foul had been called. Not sure by that first look if he was in or not. It looked like the second foot may have been coming down later.
He's trying to drag a foot, but he almost tried to drag his knee. Between the foot coming up and the knee going down, there may have been a whisper of air.
Not sure the positioning being taken here when we're going back to, but Dahlberg's going back to the stack, so maybe this was something happened before.
You got a view on that, Dan, on the sideline, one of our game advisors?
Yeah, he called. Sorry.
Turnover there.
Foul was called, play had stopped, and the Swiss team wanted the disc back where Sweden had called the foul. Sweden accepted that, and they played on.
Big shot from the Swiss, but it's going to go beyond. No, oh, tension. He had it, he bid. Didn't look like he had a chance. He looked like he got it in his finger, but as he hit the ground, it spilled out of his fingers. Robin Brudelin trying to reel in that hot shot from the Swiss. And the Swedes with one more chance to bring it back level. And Moser on the floor in the 77 shirt for Switzerland, further up pitch, being offered the big hand of the 16 shirt of Löw.
A lot of physicality downfield, a lot of calls being made at this point. And the Swedes seem comfortable with physical contact, and the Swiss, rightfully so, are saying, hey, you're pushing us out of the way.
Red checks his run, Lee Anderson with the disc. Back to Lee Anderson again. Pop across, pressure from Moser, again goes to ground. Manages to jump up and get back on his feet to put pressure on Dahlberg. There's big Swedes running it nicely here. Sundqvist to Högren. Back to Sundqvist again. Nice cut from Nordin.
The Swiss are so close on some of these bid attempts, and some of them they just have to leave their feet. But it's tough when Sweden is so large that they can just present such a big, meaty target to throw to.
Nordin. Sundqvist looking for a shot in the end zone, but the open side has been so well marked out. Every cut in there is under a lot of pressure. Sundqvist looking for that continuation, but Löw hadn't spotted it coming. Now into the end zone. Again, pressure from the Swiss, but not enough to stop the 17 shirt of Anders Dahlberg, really busting their way through that with energy and physicality. Not the prettiest of points, Brian, but certainly got the disc there in the end.
When you run a vertical stack offense, you like to see pretty ultimate and see dump swings, but the Swedes just don't care, and they're going to bowl their way through like it's a China shop and wrecking everything in their way, and they're going to go ahead and get the score as they bulldoze on through the Swiss.
So Sundqvist had that first cut. Löw looked that off, and then Anders Dahlberg continuing with the same pattern, just trying to jam it into that tight corner front of the end zone on the near side of the pitch. There he goes. Bids from Moser again being involved. His number 77 stretched out as he hit the turf. And we're at Galaxy points. So this is to take the half. It looks like, oh look, we've got a graphic. Check it out. Galaxy point graphic, Brian. It's a real thing now.
It's a real thing in Mike Palmer's world. I don't know about everybody else's world. Mike's going to have to do a little bit more convincing to get everybody to pick that one up. Although I do owe him some gelato, so.
Well, it's a talking point for our production meeting this evening.
Producer Elliot Trotter saying it won't happen again, so I don't know if it will be a talking point for tonight's meeting.
The decision has been made. I think you'll find the decision has been made. So Brian Jones and Tom Styles bringing you coverage of this power pool game, and it's a close and tense one.
Yeah, this is not a democracy here. This is the dictatorship of Elliot Trotter. Actually, our fantastic producer in the 24/7.TV truck. We have Casper and Zuni as well in there, helping lead the way, give you all the replays here today and patching the audio. Of course, we couldn't get the job done without Mike Palmer, which besides Galaxy Point, he's doing a bang-up job.
We had a media meeting on the first night. It was 25 people here covering this for the WFDF video production crew. Result of the enormous response from the Ultimate community around the world to the Kickstarter campaign that kicked off the effort to raise the funds to bring you this coverage. We have been having a few technical issues with electricity supply and also our feed of the streams, and we're trying to solve those problems throughout the week. Many apologies if you have missed out on any of the coverage, but everybody is working their very hardest to make sure that those are things that we are able to iron out. The 22 shirt of Patrick Sundqvist sends the disc raking across the pitch, but safely caught and quickly advanced by the Swiss.
Side stack here for the Swiss as they look to isolate one of the cutters. Good job by the Swedes. They're playing a soft defensive coverage that's not allowing the throws to go easily through. And here's where a handler could do a great job of ejecting and getting the poachers out of space. You see the handler defenders, the marks, they don't care. They're looking downfield. They're not aware. Great time to bust deep and catch the defense by surprise.
Well, we saw the isolated player was meant to be Riddell there for Switzerland, but Swedes have contained him well. Here he is again now with the hound, looking for a big shot, and there it goes. Deep into the end zone. It's going to be pressure from the Swedes. Oh, just caught the second time round. What action we have seen. I cannot wait to see the bid on that on the replay. But it was the 50 shirt of Basil Furrer who'd spotted the opportunity to go deep with Riddell disc in hand and sends it down there.
Yeah, we're going to take a look here in just a second, but leading up to that, you see the throw come through, the underneath pass in the rip. Look at the shape of this throw and the way it comes in. It's not coming in flat, it's not hanging, it's coming in tipped. Not sure if the defender from that angle got a tip on it. We'll take a look here. Again, the shape of this, the sharpness, the edge of the throw comes right in. Defender outstretched, doesn't get a hand on it. The Führer is able to reel it in, tip it to himself. For
that huge bid, like a Swedish jet, flying and throwing his physicality and everything he had at that disc, but not enough to prevent the Swiss side from taking the half. We'll be back shortly with more coverage from this men's power pool game. The two European sides, Switzerland and Sweden, 8-7 at half-time.
Hey, Tim. Hey, Tim.
Welcome back to this World Flying Disc Federation World Ultimate Guts Championships. We're in the men's division for this power pool match between Sweden in the white and Switzerland in the red. Story of the game so far has been a quick start from the Swiss. They put Swedes under a lot of pressure. Early break in the very first point, and that managed to keep them in front until half-time. The Swedes have been slowly getting themselves back into it. Neither team particularly over-exuberant so far. It's been measured stuff, but there's been a tactical battle out here on the pitch. Myself, Tom Stiles, and Brian Jones covering this one for you. On the sideline, big rip straight away. Deep shot, Aaron Riddell, so dominant in the first half, collecting that one in the 33 shirt for the Swiss, getting this one off to a great start and extending their lead out of the half, 9-7.
Mikhail Stalin turns around and is wondering where the help was and where the call was for the defense, because that was clearly a blown coverage downfield, and tough to swallow that one. You never want to give up a play like this. And unmarked, too. There was no mark on this throw. This is play and catch. This is not a miscommunication on both ends. No mark. I can't get over this. This is like on the playground when you're playing with your friends. This is how I bomb it now in my old age.
I don't think the handler could believe that he had no pressure on the disc at all there. I'm not sure quite what went wrong with the Swedish defense, but there was no cover on that deep shot. And at this level, the team's not able to score without significant effort and significant skill. Little giveaway points like that could be the difference between these two teams at the end of the game. The Swiss gifted a point from poor Swedish defense at the start of this second half, and their disc goes down again. Just lands on the inside. Högberg with a one shirt on his back. Dahlberg now, tall athlete with the two heavily strapped knee and calf. And 17 shirt, Högberg again, out to the wing. Högberg. That's the three shirts of Jenher. Swedes comfortable with the disc, keeping the resets and the forward passes moving. Dahlberg again making himself available. Högberg in the danger position. Dahlberg running deep. Going to be the number 7 shirt of Högberg, chasing that one down. Grabs under immense pressure from the Swiss defender, Severin Riss, but brings it in, levels it up. And these two teams are having quite a physical encounter out here. Real determination, speed, and energy from both the sides.
Högberg is just having a game out there today. Physical play doesn't faze him whatsoever. And it doesn't matter if it's a good shot or not. You just put it up, see what happens. This one I like. Look at the vision from the handler. Able to put it. Högberg puts it out deep for Högberg.
Yeah, Högberg, the one shot, has just sent the most spectacular disc. Just enough IO on that to keep it balanced. The pressure from the Swiss is non-stop all the way through that cut. He knew there was a man on his shoulder all the way, but unfazed and unhindered. Jonathan Högberg scores for the Swedes. Well, the sunshine has disappeared. It's quite a relief from this morning's heat, but it's still a beautiful day for Ultimate down here at the University College London Sports Ground.
I'm telling you, I could get used to this weather. I don't mind the rain. I like the cool weather coming from upstate New York, and there's not too much humidity, even though it rains a lot. Frankly, it's a nice temperate condition.
What can I say, Brian? Britain is great. The Swiss making their way through this Swedish Cup. That disc is going to be a bit high. No chance to receive it as one of the Swedish players goes backwards over one of our advertising banners. A real mistake there from the Swiss. Sorry, Brian, I interrupted you.
No, I was just going to say, as the play, we got interrupted by a great action. Got to discuss with David Price the romantic walk of London he would take me through, and then a Sunday roast dinner is the quintessential London experience, he would say.
The international flavour in our commentary team has been a really nice aspect of this tournament. With Swedes, Americans, Finnish, Dutch, and some Brits on here as well. 22 for the Sweden. Högberg in the middle of the pitch, dead centre, looking at options. He's thrown, huge bid there again from Aaron Riddell, making enormous plays at every opportunity on O and D. Again, trying to clog the lane as Sundqvist tries to find an option. And a poor choice from Sundqvist. The scuba, I think it was aiming at the 21 shirt of Åkerling, but Åkerling had already started his cut upfield, backfield to make himself available for the reset, and Sundqvist throws to the turf. Swiss gifted another opportunity.
Back to this diamond large 4-person cup. As they are able to hammer over it and find the space. And Sweden will live with that. They'll be okay with that hammer that's occasionally going to crop up.
That's another high disc just brought in by the edge of the line. Hammer right across, going to stretch the receiver. No, he reads it so well. Olivier Godler checking his feet as he drifted towards the front of the end zone, but catching that hammer, and the Swiss working their way around the Swedish zone very comfortably and confidently.
Some consternation there from Sweden. They got the turnover they wanted, and then some frustration after giving it back. Good play to keep this one in bounds, and then rifles the hammer right into the wind. No problem whatsoever. And this is a flat hammer. You can see the difference in angle. Able to come out just with a slightly different angle. As a result, it's going to ride, almost look like the flight path of a scuba.
Tobias van Barsen with that deep shot. The Swiss men coming through their pools strongly. The Swedes having a really tight game against Denmark yesterday, earning their place in this power pool match against the team in red. And the tall Swedish team, all very physical. Andreas Magnusson on the sideline finds gap up line to Carlson. Seen some of the collecting that disc again across the field. Nice cut from Jacob Greenberg, making himself available. Hogbury sends it deep. It's going to be pressure underneath this from the Swiss. Just enough pressure. Maybe a call here.
There's going to be a call, and it's not necessarily a wrong one in this case, but I don't like the fact that the Swedes are so willing to play with physicality and then call this one.
Shot in the end zone. Been retracted. And any complaints? Goal, the game advisors signal. So we're talking about the disparity between the way the Swedes are playing and the calls that they're making. Is that what you're talking about?
Right, they've been fine with physical play, both on the offensive and defensive side, and that looked like some physicality that honestly to me did not look like it affected the play, and they've been willing to play through it earlier. Of course it's a foul. You can rule that a foul, that's fair play, but it seems inconsistent from the way that they were calling the game from the start, and now that they're down, maybe they're going to be more willing to call that. But it's hard to say, not trying to paint a picture here of anything deliberate. There was a little bit of a bump. Could be a good call on that play. But I think that the Swedes have been able to be willing to play through that earlier, and that they've been able to dish it out like that throughout the game.
Yeah, Simon Orkling at the 21 for Sweden, making that call. A breeze drifting across the fields here at University College London. They got absolute dousing yesterday morning under 3 hours of intense rain, and this show pitch has stood the test pretty well. Some of the other pitches, you wouldn't even know it had rained. They have been incredibly well protected with some superb groundkeeping in advance of this tournament. Some of the others, some of the outer pitches have struggled a little bit and were torn up yesterday afternoon. But the ground staff working very, very hard to make sure that despite the British summer weather, the tournament can continue on the best available fields. And certainly the show game field that we've got down here for you is providing an excellent arena for some high quality spectacle. Ultimate, brought to you by the WFDF, free streaming coverage. Myself, Tom Stiles, and Brian Jones covering this power pool match, the Swiss and the Swedes. Switzerland with the disc now. 13 is Micheletto, one of the two Micheletto family. So Migaretto.
Look at the defense for the Swedes. They're not within almost 10 meters of the mark. They're just playing very soft.
Big disc goes up though. It's going to be pressure under this from the Big Ten shirt from Sweden, but boxed out beautifully by the Swiss 37 and just dinks it forward to the 13 shirt of Nicolas Miglioretto, who catches it safely and keeps the Swiss in front by 2. 11-9 they lead.
Miglioretto has had himself quite the game and a pretty big focal point here, getting the goal at the end, but it's going to be Brutalin who's going to come down with this pass as we take a look. Throw goes up, and it's going to curve at the last second. Great hold of position. Gets it, realizes he's not in, and then is going to look for the option, quick flip.
Yeah, Burian there, the 10 shirt for Sweden, got sucked in a little bit deep on that defense. Didn't keep his eyes on the discs, watching the, or maybe he could feel the pressure on his shoulder all the way there, wanting to make sure he was in the front bid. It went too far underneath the disc. Always a risk when you're at that side of the receiver, trying to make sure that you get up early. You have that first touch. There will be a point as that disc comes down where it's reachable, and you want to make sure that you are the person that is in the position.
Disc almost got stuck there in the gullet. It looked like just trying to dig it out, figure out where it was. The Swedes get off to the start.
Sweden. Middle of the pitch. And deep undercuts again. We're seeing the stack from the Swedes a good 15, 20 meters away. One reset in the form of Joachim Gentler, number 3. Arms were waved by the game advisors, signal the pick has been called and the reset. We're still waiting for that to get going again. Stall coming in on 1. Dahlberg, dominant in this game so far. Huge bids on defense, keeping the disc moving. To Gentler again, floats into the end zone. There's going to be pressure from this on the Swedes. But for the Swiss, oh, it's gets kept alive. Oh my goodness, what have we just seen? The Swiss are calling it down. Brian, what was your view?
I thought that was up from the
it looks up. That's been signaled by the game advisors. Brian absolutely spot on with the call there.
The Swiss cannot buy a D in this game. They've been looking for blocks the entire time, and really they've capitalized on some Swedish mistakes, but here they finally have one in their hands as they go up, but it's going to be tipped regardless. We take a look here on the replay. The Swedish, they have the cuts. 1 step, that's all it takes. That's the criteria for sending it deep. And there gets the tip, and that's why they say catch your blocks, but there's nothing really the defender could have done there. He did his best job possible, and just an unfortunate bounce is going to favor Sweden as we get into the late stages of this one.
Yeah, Marco Pfizer with great, I mean, that defending-wise, Marco Pfizer did all the work there, got there, got up ahead of the taller Swedish
Great
athlete.
Positioning.
Yeah, great position. Got the tip, but just clearing up that garbage. You cannot argue with the effort they're putting in.
We saw Greenberg on the screen making what would have been the catch of the day in any other game, but it's already been beat multiple times.
So it's 74 shirt of Jakob Greenberg for the Sweden, getting all the glory there. This live streamed match in the men's division, creating some real action and some highlights. As the disc bounces, midway back in the end zone, it rolls out the back. The Swiss handler going to fetch that and will bring it to the front of the end zone.
Swedish defense so far has been very soft on the handlers and tight on the cutters downfield, and they're doing this to just allow no simple throws. Here they're going to change it up a little bit. The cutters are going to play a diamond formation downfield, but the handlers too are poaching. And they're just playing this flat style defense, let it move it around, and the Swiss found a way to penetrate it early on.
Yeah, Moser drifting around and causing chaos here. He's got the disc now. He managed to get himself very free. Back to Riddell. Dishing it back. The Swiss going around the back of the handling line. Pressure tightens up a little bit. A flick into space. What a great disc that is. Floated forward and a call further downfield.
Tough throw to make. Tough throw to keep spin on. Without wind, you can put it out there, and it's just the angle at which you throw this. Very difficult throw. One of the more difficult throws to teach. Most people aren't practicing this one, this flick out to space. But when you have Luca Miglioretto, who's had himself an incredible ball game so far, you want to get it to him as much as possible and put him in position to control the game.
Yeah, the two Miglioretto, I don't know if they're brothers. I'm going to assume that they are brothers. Back to Luca. David Moser on the far side. Back to Luca Miglioretto again. Swiss under some pressure here. Big bid from the Swedes, but it doesn't generate a turnover. Out to this far side, and a call again. A little bit picky in the middle of the park. Lee Anderson being blocked. Number 37, Robin Brudlin, calling that one. Sorry, other way around. Further into the end zone. Caught by Aaron Riddell, making himself available deep and using his pace. What an athlete he's been throughout this game, Brian.
Wonderful throws, putting it deep when they need to. The Swiss are a little bit undersized in this matchup, but it hasn't stopped them. They've just gone about hucking in a different way, where the Swedish hucks are nice, flat, on a shelf, up in the air. These hucks are blading, coming through the other side to the break side, only where the receiver can get it. And that makes it easy for Riddell to come down with it once again.
Brian, we're watching the New Zealand women versus Japan women and the opening morning of our streaming coverage. And you mentioned this style of play, this to the blading deep shots rather than a floaty deep shot, and the fact that the Japanese players really favor that when the deep shots. But we're seeing the Swiss, maybe they've been watching some of those videos and picking up some of that style, because we don't see it very many other places outside of Japan.
It's a very tough throw to perform, and you have to trust the throwers and have the right people be able to do it, and also have the cutter read the situation very well. Fundamentally, when you go up, those offenses start to fail in the wind. The wind will push that throw down. You're not able to do it anymore, so it takes away part of your game. That's why, on a fundamental level, there's so much work done to just try to get looks for flat passes. Flat passes are good in all time zones. They're good in all weather. It's the only thing you can really throw. And so you're trying to put it deep. You want the receiver to have steps. This is great here in a no-win situation. This Swiss offense can function, and it's certainly a viable option, and they've been hitting on them very well throughout the game.
Analysis from Brian Jones, part of a 5-person commentary team. Myself, Tom Stiles, and Brian covering this one for you. Over on pitch 2, able to stream 2 pitches of Ultimate as part of this WFDF coverage. Evan Lepler and David Price bringing that one, and we have Megan Molteni as well, bringing colour and coaching experience, a real depth to our coverage team. And technically we have a backup of sound engineers and vision engineers and production engineers, as well as some great management as well.
Quite the title, vision engineer.
Vision engineer.
Great perspective.
The World Ultimate and Guts Championships from London. In the open division, the Swiss with the margin at the moment. They lead by 2 points as this disc flies high and glides through the London skies over the merchandising tent and caught on that far end of the pitch by the Swedes. Cutting forward. And a big shot's going to go up. It's going to be chased down by Dahlberg. He's going to have Moser over him. Moser's pushing him in the back, but Dahlberg reads it. I'm not sure if there's going to be any complaint about that contact. No, nothing from Dahlberg. And it was eventually swept up by the 14 shirt of Severin Riss.
Dahlberg could have called the foul there. Didn't think he had a play on it, and that's a good no call. I respect that no call in the way that he's saying, we'd like to play physical. There's going to be some trying to box out. He missteps here, and the defender made the play on it regardless. So for Dahlberg, good no call. I like that. Would have also been fine with him with calling it as well. It would have been close.
A deep shot in return from the Swiss. Oh, huge. It was Riss again, having got the block at the other end and made his way back down the pitch. But the Swedes with another chance to strike. Running deep, chasing this one down. Oh, a completely horizontal one-handed grab, just bumps off the palm into the turf.
Pretty exciting here, back-to-back hucks. No throws in between, just going ahead and forgetting offense, let's just put it deep.
Yeah, Philippe Hurgt, the 25 shirt.
The Swiss right now, and they've been fortunate to get this back, but going back to the original huck with the Swedes going deep, the Swiss are playing so tight that they're not realizing when the disc's on the other side of the field, they should be buffering off their man a little bit. There's no threat when the disc is all the way to the far side of the field if you're defending a cutter on the near side. He's off stage, essentially. He's inactive. And so the Swiss just need to know when to buffer and when to tighten up.
And they have an opportunity to further their lead at this moment in the game, having turned Sweden twice already this point. They're being forced back to level with their own brick marker. Tight Swedish defense. Now they're making progress. Moser, dangerous. Down the sideline, mid-pitch, looking at the 99 shirt of Pfister, who's had a great game so far, but beautifully read and intercepted by Martin Hagebel. And he's passed back to Hurgbury straight away. A pick called. Yeah, 18 Hurgebel there, reading that situation very well, spotting the down the line pass, but Sweden once again with Dahlberg now.
Very important point here for Sweden. This could really be huge if they don't get this one. They're down 12-10. Swiss could have gone back up with a commanding lead,
Hergable with the big disc into the end zone, flying high. There's going to be pressure underneath this from 4 different players, but bringing it down. It's the Swedes that spike it into the turf. Simon Åkerling scores it for Sweden. A great take off the top of the pile from the number 21 shirt, and the Swedes see that importance, Brian, exactly as you were reflecting. That was a huge point for the Swedes to keep themselves within reach of the team in red.
I'm going to take a look here first at the block that led to the goal. A great read of a play coming in. Chance here for Swiss to take a commanding lead, and this throw is a little bit behind the receiver, and that's what happens. Part of defense is making blocks on bad throws, and here this is not a defense. This is not beautiful ultimate, but it's going to work when you're big and powerful. Put it up deep. You got 2 players open. They're above everybody else, and they're going to hang there and grab the disc, no matter what the price.
Yeah, he starts 4 inches above everyone else and then goes further. I mean, it's incredible physicality from Simon Åkerling. Really impressive receiving skill.
Yeah, he's got the Swiss defenders hanging over him like, you know, you're probably your 2 children do, Tom Stiles. You're probably able to carry them around on your biceps. Åkerling, the only difference between you and him is he's able to make the catch.
Oh, my kids would be delighted they got a mention there. I'll show them the game. 2
beautiful ones, right? Young kids.
Yeah, Bryn and Bethan, probably at school and nursery at the moment, but back in this game.
More zone here from the Swedes. And see how deep the final member here of this cup is. Way out into space, knows that there's nobody defending. The Swiss doing a good job of going through the middle. The cup collapses and now opens back up again. It's like a breathable organism.
And look how quickly they crash in with every time the Swiss run in, trying to get that early pop. Because of the way they're facing, they don't seem to have their backs to the advancing cutters very often, and they are able to crash in quickly. Moser spotting that one was going to ground and adjust, but a mistake. 37 as Robin Broderlin has turfed it, given the disc back to the Swedes, looking to level this one up if they can. This is a huge point for Sweden, bringing themselves back level. The first point since half-time, a timeout called. Really key moments. We're seeing the Swedes on the doorsteps of leveling it up. Myself, Tom Stiles, and Brian Jones with you for this power pool match, Sweden and Switzerland. Oh, it's been a touch and go, neither side able to establish more than a 2-point lead. As we look at some of the zone play during that last point, there's that disc over the top, well read.
Yeah, and we see how they're busted open. We see the turnover. And that was earlier. We want to go through eventually. We will get the chance to take a look at some more of that zone for the Swedes, but the wind's starting to pick up and starting to play right into their hands. They're the players with the height. They're going to be able to pick up some swirly discs. Here, 12-11 for the Swedes with a chance to tie.
You see the game advisors making sure that they understand what's going on. Let's have a look at the zone again. So 1 mark, and the
diamond formation. You see the red hat, number 22, kind of back in the picture. He's moving away slowly, trying to expand the cup, and you see how it collapses there once the Swiss come through. The Swiss are actually doing a good job here in offense, and see how it immediately spaces apart. Great job here. They're trying to make sure the defense is covering all angles. They're switching based on how the offense is switching. Beautiful defense to use. It's hard to get teams on the same page, but that type of zone has been a staple for Sweden for years. Not necessarily that specific type of formation, but using the 4-man cup, putting a lot of people near the disc, forcing you to go over the top and put it into the teeth of their incredible athletes.
I mean, I've seen a number of different 4-person zones over the years, but I've not quite seen this diamond formation. Is there a name that this formation might be used? Well, might be called if people have heard of it before?
In general, it's just a cup, but the mark instead is going to take away the backfield.
Yeah.
So it's a force downfield zone, which is not really learned from a fundamental perspective, but can be very dangerous.
Disc back in, a vertical stack from the Swedes, starting quickly, and there's a disconnected downfield. Oh, again, we see the 16 shirt of Lööf making the distance and lost his defender very easily. Robin Brudlin found himself 20 feet away from Löw, but couldn't connect.
You see this a lot with offense has an opportunity to score. The defense is broken down, wide open receiver. What throw do you put it to? How do you put it? Do you rush the throw? Do you throw it? And it's hard to take advantage of it. But that's why it's important to play some mini games in some unstructured settings, because that could have been the difference here. That goes in. That's a tie ball game. It's a hard throw to make. It's not a fundamental. You're not going to see that in any drill whatsoever. You're only going to get that from experience, and that's why touches for younger players are so important.
Moser in the middle of this Swiss line, forced back onto their own end zone, but keeping it moving through the handlers, finding space over the top, going to ground. Brudlin there, keeping it alive. Moser again. And back to Miglioretto. Shoots deep, almost connected down pitch. That would have been a huge gainer from that hammer, but Swedes have it. Pick it up quickly. Högberg. The vertical stack and offensive style of Sweden, using the center of the pitch a lot, not necessarily swinging it and exposing the gaps on the sides of the pitch as much as they have been. Löw to Sundqvist. Sundqvist now with space down this line. Borkling. And there's the 20 shirt of Salin. Number of passes they're having to make under a lot of pressure. Brudlin again, horizontal, trying to stop that disc arriving with Sundqvist. Sundqvist down the line, and Löw stopping his cut almost as though he knew that the Aaron Riddell from Switzerland was coming in behind, able to take that disc. I'm not sure Löw's having the best game out here. He's a couple of misconnections in the end zone, and that cut just didn't seem to have the commitment required to get ahead of the fast-running Aaron Riddell.
It's important in timing. It's crucial to be on time, but it's the worst thing in the world to be early, and that's what happened there. The cut was open early, thrower didn't put it up, and should have hesitated, should have realized that the defender was right there to make the play.
Timeout called. This game is on a real knife edge here. The Swiss and the Swedes battling it out. Swiss, 1 up. And Sweden on the power pull match.
So far, it's been a game where the Swiss have been in control and in the lead just slightly the entire way. They started off pretty hot, went up a couple of breaks. The Swedes have kind of battled back into it, and just both teams have been very close to making some plays. We see the Swiss, when they go through the zone, they've been had a liberal use of hammers, but they haven't been to wide open players. They've been leading hammers, which is a very hard throw to execute on. Lead the player into space, and then it's a tricky catch to make. It's not one that you're normally considering making on the run.
We've seen more layouts, either successful or unsuccessful in this game. We've seen in very many other of the matches we've covered here on the WFDF live stream, bringing you coverage from London. We have had a few technical issues that we're working through them as fast as we can. I'll work out the kinks with our 25-strong media team. We've got our game advisors down on the pitch. Dan Godbold's our lead game advisor so far, but pleased to see the game advisors not needing to be involved in too many of the points, but if Dan does need to reflect what's happening down on the pitch, we do have him mic'd up.
Yeah, he hasn't had much work to do, but he's doing a great job. Looking good out there, Dan. And a different switch here of the mark, just trying to show something different, giving now the backfield to the Swiss. They're going back to their flat defense a little bit. Now, okay, it looks, this is the tricky part here when you're dealing with zones, and the Swedes, you can just tell how good they are at it because they're able to switch very quickly and just try to guard all angles.
all looking at forcing it back, and then Löw just dinks around for the back, just as the Swiss think they're going to have an easy dump pass because of how the Swedish zone have set up. Löw steps around and threatens that as well.
It's a hard philosophy to teach, but I think zone offense on a fundamental level needs to be taught about how to move the defense without pivoting, how to make the defense freeze by looking at a spot and then throwing to another spot, and use of misdirection. If you just pivot in a normal fashion, the marks can really predict that. You're going to look downfield for a few seconds, then backfield, and the mark can go ahead and shift in a predictable motion that makes it really hard to execute your offense.
Yeah, we see that. It was the second flick that actually delivered the disc, but real pressure here from the Swedes, creating the Swiss into their own corner. Going to be a bit on this disc as well, but it manages to arrive safely, relieving some of that pressure. Moser now down the line to Riddell, dinks forward, nice floaty pass into the progressive Broadlin now, out to the wing, back to Moser. Moser to Miglioretto. Back to his brother, Nicholas Miglioretto. And Moser again involved, preventing too much, but a nice flowing pass there from Moser into the path. It's Hammer right across the pitch, into space. Riddell collects in acres of space, managing to get separation away from Simon Orkling. Switzerland.
Swiss take a while. They're in a precarious position in the back of their own end zone, and from there the Hammer busts it wide open. They're able to move it. They start the possession, busting open the zone essentially with a hammer, and they end it with one as well. As we take a look here, up line pass, and they're pointing for it, they're calling for it. Back of the stack, it's coming. Riddell doing this all game long, and they've relied on it, whether it's the hammer or the backhand to the break side. This is the way the Swiss have liked to score.
Yeah, he's been an awesome receiver, Riddell in the 33 shirt, but the story of that point was the pressure the Swedish team created, really forcing the Swiss back and back and back, but they never cracked, they never took their eyes off the, never lost concentration or focus, never panicked, relieved the pressure, then flowed nicely through the center of that Swedish defense, and eventually finding the outlet of the hammer.
And just for context, we talked about it at the beginning, Tom, you mentioned it, the Swiss have never beaten Sweden at a world stage, never. This would be another monumental upset. We just saw the Czech Republic defeat Canada, and the Swiss are in the driver's seat, 2 goals away. Sweden will have to score 4 before that happens.
Sweden to Dahlberg. Oh, that is classic stuff from Högberg. Saw his compatriot running deep. An enormous number 17 shirt makes himself quite a target. Anders Dahlberg reeling it in, taking it high.
Classic stuff is right, Tom. Putting it deep for Dahlberg. It's been part of this game, part of the Swedish offense. And the Swiss have done such a good job in this game, but this possession is one they may look back on and say, we didn't do enough, because in 4 passes, this disc is going up. Högberg putting it deep. Dahlberg, nowhere for the defense to go. This one as easy as it gets for Team Sweden.
Yeah, there wasn't enough pressure on that mark on Högberg. He was able to pivot out, and even after he pivoted out, he still had masses of space. He didn't need to pivot as far as he did even.
Taking a look here at number 17, Anders Dahlberg in the left corner.
He's been a key factor in this game. The Swiss still in the boss seat, chatting to the coach before this game. He was just reflecting the heritage of these two teams. They've met so many times on the world stage, both at club and national level. And I think Pedro Schmid was saying that only at Paganello, when a Swiss team played against a Swedish team, has there ever been a successful victory in the sport of ultimate between Switzerland and Sweden. So this is a huge position to be in for the Swiss. Can they keep their nerve? Again, we see the Swedish zone choking the opportunity to throw back, crashing in as that disc moves through, and the Swedes trying to take away the options, but the Swiss have moved it nicely, the team in red.
And I like this call here by the Swedes to stay with this zone, even though that the Swiss have found some ways around it. You've been getting good pressure, and you got to throw, which you mentioned we thought there was going to be a bit earlier in the last possession. There wasn't. But that's a good way at this level to evaluate your zone defense. Did you get an opportunity to get a block? The answer was yes on the last possession. Sweden's going to stick with it as they argue out here some marking fouls.
So 3 in the wall. It's not quite the diamond we saw earlier. Löw marking. Miglioretto. Miglioretto finds Tobias van Barsen. Again, surrounded by white shirts. Able to find an outlet. Looking straight downfield.
Normally here, there's going to be 2 players playing the wings underneath, but Sweden uses 3 people back to just change it up and make sure that they're guarding every single player. It's almost like they're playing one-on-one defense behind the cup.
There's a high-release push-pass dump there from Miglioretto.
You know, we saw one of those from John Snow that went about twice as far in the last game.
Emergency stuff from the pressure that the Swedes are creating. Van Barsen to Riddell. And Riddell back to Moser. Lefty release. Flowing across the back of the handlers. This is nice stuff from the Swiss, creating space on that far side. Looks at the knifey disc across, but puts it back in the holster and resets. Again, removing the pressure. Van Barsen.
Way to
Moser.
take the bump.
Yeah, just rode through that bump. Has he called it? Has he called it on himself?
I don't know what this call is. If number 16 is calling a foul, this is unbelievable to me.
See that again. It looked like Löw had overrun and just charged into Tobias van Barsen.
It could have been that there's a foul call and maybe there wasn't contact, but not sure what happened there. But either way, we're going to go on with the play.
Van Barsen looks to dump. Coming back to the halfway mark, Swedish defense has been effective in pushing the Swiss back. Basil Führer to Moser. Down the line, beautiful stuff into the outstretched arms of Olivier Goula. And the Swiss are within 1 of taking this power pool match. A historic victory over the Swedish team if they can do it. And the team in white, tall men of Sweden, their heads dropping. They're feeling this game just drifting away from them, Brian.
They've looked like that all game long. They have shown not great body language, but they continue to fight back. And classically, one would look at this, if I was coaching my team, I would actually tell them the body language matters. Everybody's going to see that, everybody's going to get down. But some teams sometimes thrive on the negativity. Classic example was Furious George out of Canada. All it took is for one of them to get angry, and all of a sudden the storm came through and Furious George was back to their top level. But in most teams, it's usually, especially this day and age, the common thread in the coaching circles are to be positive, to tell people, be confident, to get back to your game, and not just give away that you're having a tough time of it. It's been tough because Sweden has been forced to go to this zone. It hasn't gotten the turnovers they've wanted. They've had their opportunities a few times with it, but it's also because of the great play from the Swiss, who have done a great job of sending the disc to the break side in a variety of different ways. Hammers, backhands, slicing throws that don't stay in the air for very long.
So we're on a knife edge of a historic victory for Switzerland, but the Swedes are not out of this one yet. Darting and diving, they're under pressure from the Swiss defense straight away, but managing to find a nice disc forward to Högren. And now Dahlberg. Steady disc, what an ambitious disc that is, right across the pitch. Is he going to keep his toes in? Oh, he does. The vision from Dahlberg was exceptional there. That was you never normally see that pass, sort of an outside in, right across the pitch into the exposed closed side, running away from his defender, picks it off, and Sweden keep themselves in this game. Dahlberg, the provider of some exceptional skill.
Sometimes as a young defender, you get used to playing teams that are going to play some smart offense, and it's the dumb stuff won't work. But here, it's not dumb stuff for Sweden. They practice this stuff. They play this way. It's going to send cross-field. This is an incredibly tough throw to make, and this is going to be Dahlberg going to be sending it deep. No hesitation, just putting it out there. There's room for it. The deep gets caught in position. We can see here the deep, there's kind of bracketing in the center of the field and don't realize it's coming. 99 there is worried about the threat from number 3 on Sweden coming deep, and as a result, just held there for a split second. That's all the time they needed.
The weighting of that disc from Dahlberg had to be perfect. Normally when you see a shot into that corner of the end zone, it's got the other curve on it, so it's curving down the line. That was curving away. It was curving directly across the line. It had to come down just in time for Jacob Greenberg to reel it in and score the point. Sweden coming out on D to put pressure on Switzerland. The team in red on the verge of a spectacular victory. Can they hold their nerve? Deep cut straight away.
They've gone away from the zone defense that wasn't necessarily a bad option, but they don't like it here on game point.
Fura down the line is a great cut. Miglioretto. There's space on the far side of the pitch. Space up the line. Moser making himself available. There's an emergency hammer right across the pitch. Bid! Oh, but it's brought down safely by Brudelin, and it's a timeout has been called. A timeout has been, so not a timeout, a stall out has been called on this side of the pitch. It was a last-ditch effort to get the disc away.
And we'll go down on the field and see if we can hear the players talk this one out.
That was a contested stall out. It did look like a very high count.
Looks like they're going to go and talk to the game advisors.
Stall count was on, so it's completely up to the discretion of you guys. Okay, Swiss. Everybody says no, Sweden.
Got a bit of a conversation here. Luca Miglioretto, key point in the game. Always nice to see games finished cleanly.
I would say his call fast.
Either way the decision goes here, one of the teams is going to be wondering if it was the right shout, but it looks like it's going to come back. So he's coming in on 8. High stall, looking for a quick disc out of Luca Miglioretto, and he does same disc again. Hammer right across the far side of the zone. Looks like he's going to drift towards the outside. He hammers it in. Oh, just tries to jump from inside, grabs the disc, flings it back, but it was wobbling all over the place. And Nicholas Miglioretto couldn't connect with that. Sweden with an opportunity. To Luca Miglioretto with the bid to his brother. Also with the hammer there, trying to get out of that pressure. Now it's the Swedes. Burien.
A little bit of mismatches here in the turn. I was just thinking about how the Swiss offense has been able to actually have almost a physical advantage by having some taller defenders on the handler cutters. When the handlers are able to move with a lower center of gravity, they're quicker, they're able to get open in small spaces better. And that's what we saw from Miglioretto for most of the game here. Luca Miglioretto doing a great job of moving the disc around, along with number 77, David Mosser. He's done a fantastic job of just moving the disc and keeping possession. And also, Olivier Gogler out there.
Burien forced to take the dump pass. Dahlberg available now, still in their own end zone. There's the Swedes under some significant pressure from the team in red. Finds Sundqvist. Sundqvist almost charged up the arm, didn't send it down. Löw making himself the huge beard charging towards this near line. Reset. Burien. Sundqvist.
The Swiss downfield are all trying to take away the deep.
Sundqvist shoots it deep, chasing it down. It's Hergeren, and it goes beyond him and drifts back into Swiss hands. One more chance to take this game away.
Sundqvist has not had himself a very good game, with several turnovers of this nature on the D-line. And you see why you try to run fundamental offenses, because eventually in high-pressure situations, Hergeren is going deep. This throw has gone up multiple times this game, but it's a vertical cut. The thrower and the cutter are in the same width on the field. As a result, it's a straight-off pass. It's hard to put that one out to space perfectly in a high-pressure situation.
That's a great early cut from Riddell, and we know how, it's Basil Fura has made that early cut downfield. Might be off the camera, and flicks over the top. Luca Miglioretto, all the tools in the toolbox, opening it up and using the lot. Nicholas Miglioretto now with the disc in the 13 shirts, looks to his brother.
So small compared to the counterparts.
Mistake, disc to ground. Swedes with an opportunity to level this up. They're knocking on the door of a sudden death game here. Sundqvist into space, no, yes. There it is, toes it in. Dahlberg on the edge of the line, and a travel has been called. Tension in this arena.
Luca Miglioretto, after the turnover, you know, that's going to happen, but he held his head down, and Sweden could have gone for the fast break goal. He's fortunate that that didn't happen.
Sundqvist. And be a violation. Not everybody ready to start. Sundqvist. For Sweden. Scuba into space, but not enough chance to get the hands down to that disc. Högerin lets it drop and got a bump on the way through from Luca Miglioretto. Actually didn't need to make a bid on that disc. It was going to the ground anyway.
I don't think this should have been called a foul. I think the disc was well passed and that both players were going for the same position. There was a bump, which can be called a foul. And we'll see here what the game advisor tries to rule.
The disc looked like it was going to the ground anyway.
And it feels like I'm on the disc first, and then
No doubt contact was made between Miglioretto.
You know, on the second look, I actually kind of retract my opinion, taking a look at that replay. Was bumped with the hand closer.
I'm saying I'm on the
I
disc
think that's a
first.
good call.
I'm on the disc first.
Yeah,
because it's in my hand.
You know, when
We get a
it's
second
the
look,
mark
don't
of
we?
a good person when your opinion changes due to evidence.
Yeah, please.
He had a clear line to the disc. You contacted him. That affected his ability to catch the disc.
And we're struggling to
Position, you did not have any.
hear the discussion.
She's throwing it back.
Contested.
So that looks like that's been settled with sending it back. And Sundqvist has the disc again. There's a scuba for the previous attempt. What's he got this time? Swedes looking to level it up. Front of the end zone is available. Quick 1-2. Sundqvist again. Högberg darting around, looking for an option to the reset. It's going to be high stall count. Pressure, but manages to pick it out at the top of the stack. It's Dahlberg. Hand behind his back. He's getting caught from 37 shirt of Robin Brudlin. Dahlberg not able to make that reset pass. Front of the end zone, Sundqvist getting climbed all over. And it's a foul call. Tense and tight here. Neither team wanting to give up the advantage, even on the end zone line. Olivier Gudler putting pressure on that disc. Sundqvist now. Scuba again. Oh, and this time, the tall, rangy athlete that is Anders Dahlberg, just lurking like a shadow at the back of the end zone, finds the receiving disc. And Scuba is safely caught, and Sweden are in this 14 apiece. We're at universe point here in this power pool match. These two European powerhouses of teams have played a stunning game in front of myself and Brian Jones. Brian, this could go either way.
Exactly, for the Swedes, that they've gotten a couple of turnovers here, but if you're coming in this possession and you're Switzerland, it's just about remaining confident. It's just, there's nothing to talk about here. You've run the offense, you're going to put your best offensive players out in the field and do everything you can. Some teams try to mistake to call timeout here. You haven't had to be rushed to play all of your best players on every line. You've been in control of this game. This is an advantage for you. Sweden has had to kind of mull out and grind out a couple of possessions. Be confident moving forward. Trust Luca Miglioretto to make the right decision. He's already looked like he had the game won. Called back in a stall. And Sweden able to survive that possession and force another one.
Looks like they have called a timeout, Brian. Not exactly the thing that you were advising that they wouldn't do.
I think the problem is that anytime you come into a match, and sports psychologists talk about this, they even talk about a gymnast stepping up to the line to do their routine, and all of a sudden an official says, no, wait 5 more seconds. You don't want that to happen because you want everything just to be normal in the moment as you've done it before. Because as soon as you start to think, your thinking mind comes into play and your doing mind start to all of a sudden have issues with each other. You don't need to think anything. You need to just go ahead and do what you've done the entire game long, which is battled it out against a great team. There's nothing more in this huddle that you can say. If you're going to take this time out for water because you're tired and you need to get your best players on the field, I can jive with that. But if you're going to sit there and talk about adjustments you need to make, those adjustments were made a long time ago. There should have been made a long time ago.
Now, Brian, with a rich experience of coaching and strategy, providing the colour in this tense and tight game at Universe Point here. The Swedes in white, the Swiss in red. The Swiss team have never beaten Sweden in the history of the sport out on the world stage. And that history will be ringing in their ears as we start this final point.
Well, that's the thing. I hope it's not ringing in their ears. I hope they're not thinking of the outcome in this situation. Every 1,000-mile journey starts with one step. Every possession starts with one pass. The only thing there is the next pass. Your job, know your role. This is not the time to do something different. This is the time to do exactly what your role is on this team.
Let's see how it happens down here on the pitch. The Swiss.
Side stack set up, looking to isolate Micheleretti off the start.
Van Barsen stopped from making that pass by a big block from Sundqvist, just taking away the lane, and already that advantage that the space that they opened up with that side stack has gone. Micheleretti's got it again now though, and swings it back to his brother and across to Moser. Got it to Riddell cutting deep. Riddell cutting under. He's got space deep, and he's going to be still available. Oh, Micheleretti keeping it alive.
Doing a great job there. And just a little bit of hesitation. The Swiss, though, trying to stay patient.
Deep shot from Van Barsen. It's going to be up in the air. Pressure underneath it. It's Moser cutting. He's got space. He's got time. He goes backwards. He takes it down. And here's a historic victory for the Swiss as they invade the pitch. The first time they have ever beaten Sweden. And it's a fantastic win on Universe Point here in the power pools of the World Ultimate and Guts Championships from London. What a game we've witnessed. Swedish hearts broken, Swiss hearts jubilant.
They battled the entire game long. If you looked at the matchup on paper, the Swedes never lost at Worlds against the Swiss. The Swedes have the athletes. They're taller. They can go deep on you. It doesn't matter if they have to play fundamentally sound, but the Swiss battled back through, and they used a variety of tools to do it. And it came down to being patient on that Universe Point possession, moving it around. They had some options I thought they could have taken, but good job taking the smart throws, and finally, wide open deep cut. No chance for the defender, Hergerin, to make a play, and he's been making fantastic plays on the day. So the Swiss, one heck of a game. Great job by Luca Micheleretti. And on top of that, when you look at Riddell, he was one of the players in this game, but it's going to be Moser who's the hero catching that one.
Yeah, so thank you very much for joining us of the coverage of this power pool match. Switzerland victorious against Sweden. Today's coverage of the World Flying Disc Federation's free streaming for 2016 World Ultimate Championships from London has been brought to you by VC Ultimate, proud to be the official merchandising partner of the World Flying Disc Federation, and by Eric, teaching youth about cancer symptoms through Ultimate Frisbee clinics, by the USA, members of the USA Ultimate and World Flying Disc Federation. We've got live Ultimate on the WFDF live stream all day today, if you check the websites for the coverage details. Until we see you on a next broadcast, this is Tom Stiles and Brian Jones signing out.
Von ihrer Seite das mit den Diskussionen, das schnell einchecken und einfach die Kommunikation ist nicht so klar gewesen. Es ist so, ja was, ne, einfach, wenn ich
In der engen Phase für beide gespielt
Catch it early. Help us teach kids about cancer symptoms through Ultimate Frisbee clinics. Join us and speak up.